Welcome to the Susan LoPresti Wellness Mind, Body, and Soul podcast, the go-to space for midlife and mature women who are ready to reclaim their health, boost their energy, and live long, vibrant, and purposeful lives. Each week, we dive deep into natural wellness, holistic healing, anti-aging strategies, and healthy lifestyle habits to help you feel your best physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Whether you're navigating menopause, working through a chronic condition, or simply wanting to age gracefully and intentionally, this show is your sanctuary for science-backed insights, powerful stories, and soul-nourishing inspiration. If you're a woman 40 or 50 or older and you're looking to thrive in this next chapter of your life, you're in the right place. And today I'm very excited about my guest. Her name is Alicia Jones, and Alicia helps to transform the health and the lives of women over 40 through her fitness and weight loss strategies. Alicia has appeared on various health and wellness television programs and produced and hosted Health Matters and The View Health and Wellness on Rogers TV. She has a BA in kinesiology and adds many certifications to her list of qualifications, including National Coach of Canada, NCCP, Advanced Sports Nutrition, Certified Group Fitness Instructor, Personal Trainer Specialist, Canfit-pro, and many others. And without further ado, Alicia, welcome to my podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today, and I really look forward to this conversation with you.
Oh, I'm so excited about this conversation too. You cannot even begin to understand how many questions I get about this conversation, so I'm really excited.
I want to start talking to you first about the Wegovy's and the GLP-1s. What's your feeling on those? Because I have my own personal opinion about them. So how do you feel about them?
Well, actually, it has taken me years now before I even decided I was going to come forward and talk about this because I wanted to accumulate all of the information out there and not just accumulate the information from the studies, but also to experience what my clients were coming to me with and what they were saying to me and the participants in my program. So I think when these medications first came out, my reaction was emotional, as in an immediate, like, oh, what's happening? Is this something else that, it is promising things for people that in reality are just a quick fix, something that we should avoid? But as time has progressed, and I've really looked and dived into not only the emotions and how my clients are feeling with these medications, but also the research behind them, my stance is that obesity is a disease. It is a chronic disease that kills, and it creates reduced quality of life. It's not only just confidence by being a certain weight, it has to do with your heart health, your bone health, your mental health. And so there are individuals that desperately need to be on these drugs to save their lives and to create a better quality of life. I think, though, that we need to be careful as to who gets these drugs and what the parameters are around those drugs, because I don't think it should be given to the general population because they just want to fit into a size 4 for a wedding that's coming up.
Right, right.
Mhm.
That's my feeling as well. I think everyone is jumping on the bandwagon to lose 20 pounds when in reality you could lose 20 pounds by eating right and taking better care of yourself and exercising. And I've known a couple of people that were taking these drugs, and one of my friends, she started losing her hair. Her hair was coming out. I had another friend of mine who was experiencing a lot of gut issues. And both of them, when they went off of the drug because of the side effects that they were having,
Mhm.
they gained the weight right back anyway.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, you bring up a great point. So, on average, people stay on these drugs for about 13 months. So, that's a year, just over a year. And the rate is even higher after 2 years that they go off of these drugs. And we're specifically like the rate of people going off of it are more the ones that wanted to lose weight to begin with, and not because they have to be on the drug because they have type 2 diabetes. And when we see why they get off of this drug, the number one reason is gastrointestinal health. So they are getting the symptoms of nausea, vomiting, they don't feel well. All of the sensations to do with feeling too full, bloated, those are the reasons why they get off of the drug. And I totally understand. I would not want to feel like nauseous. Nausea is one of those sensations, those symptoms that I absolutely hate. So I can't imagine wanting to do that forever. And when you are on these drugs, it is, for the most part, forever. You are going to have to stay on those drugs or you will gain the weight back. And on top of it, you have the potential of, on those drugs, losing your lean mass, a little bit of bone density, and you get off of those drugs and you no longer have your lean mass to protect you in order for you to rev up that metabolic rate to keep your best quality of life. And so your health could be at even greater risk. And that's what I hope we talk about today, how to kind of mitigate that and help with that.
Yes. So let's get into that. How do we mitigate it?
Yes. So, first off, if you are on these drugs because you genuinely feel that you need to be, which is valid, you know, you constantly think of food noise, for example, you haven't been able to lose the weight consistently on your own, or you're feeling like it's difficult even when you do lose the weight. So even if it is 20 pounds, I've had clients that have lost a significant amount of weight naturally, with about 50 pounds with me. And then at the end, they're still obsessing about food. As somebody that is a coach, a fitness, weight loss, and dealing with nutrition for women over 50, I cannot help with the food noise. And, psychologists can help to a certain degree, but what really, it is something that is in you as somebody that has a potential mental health issue, a binge eating disorder, or, you just cannot get out of thinking of food all the time. So you need to be on the drug. And so I've had clients that have lost a lot of weight on their own. They only have 20 pounds left to lose, but just to appease that food noise, they have gone on the drug. And what I see is, if they are not being consistent with their weight training and they haven't increased their protein to a level to make up for this potential lean mass loss, then even though they're doing some form of exercise, they're not doing enough to maintain their lean mass. And so when you are on these drugs, it's not the easy way out. It's even harder for you to maintain and enhance lean muscle and to make sure that you're going to be healthy and have a best quality of life when you're off of them. So the number one thing you can do is resistance train. And we're not talking about some light resistance training. The resistance training has to feel hard for you. You have to, of course, work your way up to a level that is difficult, but we're talking about heavier weight training cycles. We're talking about demand on lean muscle that is going to be enough to create or maintain the amount of lean mass that you have. And that's also the case for bone density. So these drugs don't in and of themselves cause bone density to decrease. In fact, some of the drugs we might find in the future, they help preserve bone density. We found that in animal studies, but we haven't really found that in people studies. It's just kind of maintained as what it is. But because you lose weight, when you lose weight, if you are not actively working on it, a part of that weight loss will always be bone density that you lose. And that's because when you're a heavier weight, you're putting more demand on the bones.
Yes.
Lighter weight, less demand, right? So you've got to create that greater demand as you're losing weight. We're talking about potential impact exercises, or if you can't do impact, you can do things like vibration plates, you can do heavier resistance training, weight bearing exercises. And it does need to get to a point where you are feeling that it's hard by the end of that workout.
Right.
Mhm.
Wow, that's great. That's great information.
Mhm.
Yeah, so as far as the psychological issue with always focusing on eating and food is always on your mind, that's an eating disorder, more or less.
Yes, it is. It could potentially be an eating disorder. It could be how your hypothalamus or your brain regulates food and eating patterns and food noise, for example, and what your environment is. So it's not cut and dry. So I would always myself hate to say, oh, you've only got 5 pounds to lose. You shouldn't be on these drugs. I mean, take a look at Oprah, for example. How much had she lost? And she had maintained after retirement for quite a long time, but she was still struggling psychologically, emotionally with the food noise. And I have found that as well with clients that are still eating foods that they love. And I have a client that I've been with for years. I love her to death. And she is one of the ones that lost 50 pounds. But it was always hard. It's always this feeling of there's a piece of pie that I'm eating right now in front of me, and I'm thinking about that next slice that's in the kitchen. And it isn't as cut and dry as just don't have the pie in the house, because there's still that motivation or drive to go get a second pie. And
Yeah.
so if that is what you're experiencing, then yes, I think that you need to go to a doctor, explain this. In that specific case that I'm mentioning, the individual was also in therapy for binge eating. And so it's not just like you're deciding that you have some food noise. You're actually getting diagnosed with obsessive or compulsive thoughts of food on a daily basis.
It's almost like an addiction where you're feeding to fulfill something that you feel like you're lacking on the inside. This is the way I perceive it anyway. I mean, whether you're an alcoholic or a drug addict or food, and I don't want to say food addict, but some people really are food addicts. They're feeding something that's not nourished within their soul in a way, and they go to food, where some people go to shopping or some kind of substance abuse. So I feel like a lot of it is psychological.
Yes, absolutely. It can be. And we know too that it's not just as simple as, I mean, for some people it is. For some people it is an emotional eating. You're doing it to fulfill a void within you, or because you're not directly coping with your emotions. But we also know that there are brain changes that happen. So for example, you're talking about an alcoholic. If there is a history of alcoholism, you're more genetically predisposed to that, and the brain chemicals, that dopamine, that feeling that you get, someone else might not have that same feeling. And it's the same with food, it's the same with shopping or gambling. And so what these drugs can potentially do is quiet or calm that fulfilling or happy effect, the dopamine effect that you get from this addiction that you have, whether it's food, alcohol, or shopping.
So am I hearing you correctly when you say that the drug actually helps with the addiction part of it?
Yes, and they're looking into it further for alcoholism, for shopping addiction. It quiets down that part of the brain that creates that pleasure center from this addiction or activity.
Wow. But that would mean, obviously, I'm assuming, that they would have to stay on this drug for the rest of their life in order for them to not fall back into their own ways. And now we go back to, well, what are the side effects and what are we doing to our body
Mhm.
by staying on these drugs long term? So it's almost like a vicious
Yes.
cycle.
Well, again, it's always for each person, right? Like if you have type 1 diabetes and I say you have to go on insulin for the rest of your life, you're not going to go off of it. You're going to
Right.
stay on it. You
That's true.
understand it's a disease. And so I think that's what we need to start really understanding, that food addiction is a disease, as well as obesity is a disease. The question is, do you actually fall under that category, or are you using this because you think you're taking the easy way out? And
Right.
that's where the question really comes in to effect.
Okay. So you do believe in taking the drugs if it falls into the category of a disease and taking it long term. But a lot of
Mhm.
people are just jumping on the bandwagon to have a quick fix of losing 10 to 20 pounds, and they really don't need to stay on it long term. Because once you lose the 10 to 20 pounds, if you're really serious about maintaining that weight,
Mhm.
then you know what you have to do to maintain that weight. And you could,
Yes.
so if you go off the drug, this is my other question. If you do go off the drug and the person decides that they're going to stay on a healthy regimen, will they continue to maintain that weight loss, or will they see a little bit of an increase in weight once you go off of it?
Okay, so let's talk specifically to those that are just trying to look great, like lose that 5 pounds for the wedding and that's it. And then they're
Okay.
going to get off of the drug. Yes, they will gain the weight back if all they're doing is saying to themselves, I'm not really going to change my lifestyle. Like I'm going on this drug because I get to eat whatever I want and my body's going to tell me I'm full, I'm not going to eat as much. If they become complacent in the exercise, specifically resistant and impact exercise, if they become complacent and say, hey, I can have that piece of cake and that's fine, that can be my dinner because I can only eat so much and that's it,
Yeah.
then yes, you will gain the weight back. You'll also lose lean mass. And we know that the percentage of lean muscle that you lose at this point is quite high. I mean, at the low end, we're talking about 10% lean mass loss. And with 10%, that's about a decade of aging. So
Oh,
to put that into perspective, that's about a decade of aging. So you lose that lean mass, which is metabolically active, which helps you lose fat and maintain a healthy weight. You now are with less lean mass, you get off of the drug, you are going to have a harder time maintaining that healthy weight, especially if you have less of that lean mass. Also, the food noise comes back, you no longer feel full, and yes, you absolutely have to. And I say this whether or not you decide to stay on the drug forever,
yeah.
you have to change your ways in eating and in exercise. This is a non-negotiable, so it's not the easy way out. If you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to take these drugs to lose that 5 pounds and it's going to be easier for me to do, the thing is that it's not easier, because you're even more at risk for losing your lean muscle than those who lose weight without taking these drugs, which then puts you at a greater risk for not only that weight regain and then some, but also for a worse quality of life.
Right.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we need our lean muscle. It is a huge predictor for us being able to get up, live our second half, walking or traveling, getting off of a chair. A chair, for example, just sitting up or getting off of the toilet. That's something that we need a lot of lean muscle strength.
Yeah.
And so if that goes down with age, we're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. So what do you recommend when a client comes to you looking to lose weight?
When they're on these drugs or when they're not on
No,
them?
when they're not, and maybe they're considering them, what advice do you give them?
I think it depends on what the reason is for them to lose the weight. Again, I want to ask more questions. I want to know, what is a day like for you? Is it easy for you to eat the meal, you feel full, you're getting those full signals, and then you go on to the next? Or is it that you're constantly thinking of food, you can't get over those thoughts of food? And if it is that, how much of that as well is a part of diet culture? So for example, when people come to me, a lot of times I do ask them to log so I can see what their protein, their macronutrients are, their protein and their carbohydrate, their fat numbers are, what they're eating in a day. And so if I see that a lot of what they're trying to do is willpower based, which is impossible to stay on a plan when it's willpower based and not out of joy or enjoyment of food or feeling good. You're just feeling restricted all the time. You're more likely to fall off track. So I just want to know where they're at first. And we do a discovery period where I just get them to log. We get to see how they're feeling and where their struggles are, and how much of that can actually be shifted just because of their awareness of what is happening and start to make those psychological changes, or whether it's something that is way beyond my scope of what I can do. And we always have to change our macronutrients as we age. Protein becomes even more important with age. But when we're talking about the GLP-1 and the GLP-1 GIPs, which are the tirzepatides, the Mounjaro, the Zepbounds, those ones that have a dual or synergistic effect that actually may have greater weight loss when you're using them. When we're taking a look at those drugs, your protein level needs to be even higher. You're in this high weight loss potential group that your protein needs to be even greater than somebody that is aging with exercise. And so it becomes even more important. So no matter what, I always look at macronutrients. I always look at lifestyle, what is happening. And I always, resistance training, no matter what age you are, you need to start getting on that because that lean mass is incredibly important.
Right. So for resistant training, what is your advice? Obviously, weightlifting, right?
Yes, yeah. Weight bearing exercises are really important. And it always depends on where you're starting from. If you're brand new, you just need to understand the foundational movements. You need to understand what's known as compound movements. So, those ones like sitting down on the couch and getting back up, like squats, and understanding how to move effectively with these. And even doing that at the beginning. If you haven't been doing anything and you just sit on the couch and you stand up 15 times, you've started. That's something to start you at. And when you're just getting started with resistance training, you're at this amazing place because almost everything that you do, even the little things, are going to get you massive results. It's when you become more advanced that it's harder, right? Because you have to really push yourself a lot harder.
Right. Yeah. Well, so you're saying about getting off the couch. Like I've seen elderly people, but not that old, like maybe in their 70s. And when they're getting up off of the table, let's say, they put their hands on the table to lift themselves up. Like they're not using their legs. They're always relying on something in front of them to help them. They're not just standing up or, getting off the chair. They're pushing themselves out. And that is probably not helpful for them because they
That
should be using their leg power to get up off the chair.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes,
But at that point, that is your cue that they have significantly lost lean muscle.
yes.
Because if once you start doing that, and some of it is like over time, we as humans, we always want to do the thing that's easiest. So when we compensate one side of our body, we stand on a little bit more than the other because one side feels better. Or when we get up, we think, there's something there to help us. We might as well use it. Or we park really close to go into a shopping mall, even though we're going to be walking around because it's the easiest option. These are things that we naturally do. So a part of this could be that over time, that's what this person has been doing, has been using the sofa. But more often than not, what I see is that it's that first sign that there's a decline in lean muscle.
Yeah,
And so the question is, can they start to work that exact movement to gain back their strength and lean muscle?
right.
So, for example, maybe they just do one repetition of that where they place their hands on their thighs instead of on the thing beside them. Or if they really need that thing beside them, can they go back down to the ground and do that 3 times or 5 times or 10 times and then switch sides to make it even before they decide to go on with the rest of their day? Because even that little bit of the repetitiveness in doing it more than once is going to start to create or stimulate lean muscle growth.
Right. What about walking? I know that's not weight bearing exercise, but doesn't that help to build muscle as well?
Walking, I mean, I guess first off, it depends what kind of walking you're doing, and it's impact for sure. You're doing some impact. So it's better than nothing. Again,
Right.
if you're not doing anything, it's better than nothing. But what happens is our bodies are really, really good at becoming efficient at what we're given. So if walking is something that we're doing all the time, it's normal, we're pretty used to that movement, which means that we're not really getting any more enhanced level of bone density. We're not getting any more enhanced level of lean mass. We're maintaining what we have at best. So
Okay.
it's not it we really do need to kind of poke the bear, if you will. Like we have to create some sort of sensation that our body says, whoa, I can't believe she did this to us. We now have to become stronger. We have to do something to shift, enhance more lean muscle, or, start to create some more bone density because she might do this to us again. So you've got to do that over and over again, repetitively to your body.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. It's great advice. Really good advice. Give me some final thoughts that you'd like to leave the audience with today, Alicia.
Yeah, I think if you're on these drugs, because if you're on GLP-1s or the tirzepatides, if you're on these because you genuinely feel that you need to be on them, I think it's important to say you're not lazy. It's not because you're broken or there's something wrong with you. You genuinely have a health condition, just like there are a whole bunch of other health conditions. And when you have a health condition, you need to be on medication. But that being said, no matter who you are, if you decide to be on these medications, it's harder work. And you have to understand that and weigh the risk to benefit to that, because you do need to exercise and you do need to eat healthy. Otherwise, long term, the consequences are dire.
And what about a woman who needs to lose 10 pounds and they go in that direction? What do you say to them?
I say you are no different. You still have to really work hard at your exercise, at your eating, and at the end of the day, if you were planning on doing that anyways, the first step I'd say is to avoid any of those symptoms that we know people go off of the drugs, and any potential risks, even if they are small or large, whatever the case may be. Why not try it on your own first? Work hard as you would for 3 months. And at the end of those 3 months, you can reassess then if it's necessary. But you have to do the work.
Do you think it takes 3 months to lose 10 pounds for some people?
In theory, it should be slower weight loss. Like the average weight loss that we should be losing is about 1 to 2 pounds a week. And that's for that lean mass maintenance that we don't, if you lose weight fast, you're more likely to lose your lean muscle and bone density, and we've talked about the importance of lean mass. Not only that, the lifestyle changes haven't occurred. And so you're more likely to gain the weight back and then some.
Right.
So 1 to 2 pounds a week is good. So if we're talking about 12 weeks, in theory, you should be able to lose 12 pounds. If you're going slower, some of my people want to go slower because they want to work on the lifestyle changes. And some of them are really like, no, I understand the lifestyle changes. This is my moment. I'm really ready to change. So if you lose half a pound even, that's what, 5 pounds by the end or 6 pounds by the end of 12 weeks? But you're more likely to maintain it naturally if you do it naturally. Mhm.
I think someone who is looking for a lifestyle change is more likely to stay the course and maintain their new weight
Mhm.
than someone who has an event coming up and wants to lose 10 pounds to look great in the dress. If
Mhm.
that's their only motivation to look great in that dress, at the end of that event,
Mhm.
most likely they're going to go back to their old ways of eating and less exercise. I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
I will say, and this might be controversial for me to say, I find that if somebody's just trying to lose the 5 pounds to look good in a dress, they
Yeah.
don't understand the severity of being a healthy weight. What what they're doing is they're doing it for the vanity. And at the end of the day, that's an external motivator. The external motivators never work long term. It has to be an internal motivator, your health. You understand that you might die if you don't lose weight. You understand that your heart health, your quality of life is suffering. You know, who you are in the future is in jeopardy. You are more likely to stick to your weight loss when it is an internal factor of motivation than just because someone's going to see you in a nice dress and you look good in that picture.
That is excellent advice.
Mhm.
Excellent. And that's what weight loss should really be all about, longevity.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And
Yes.
I don't think that people that do this 5 pounds off for the dress and then end up gaining it back and then do that again. Yo-yo dieting, that's a type of yo-yo dieting. It
Yes.
it it can potentially be worse than smoking cigarettes. Okay, for what it does to your heart and your lean mass for your health risks. Yo-yo dieting is linked to worse quality of life. So that's also something to think about.
Wow. That's interesting. I didn't know it was equivalent to smoking cigarettes, which is pretty bad.
Yeah, again, it's probably not if you're losing like 1 pound a week, but it's that severe weight, like we're talking about
Yes.
severe dieting in order to get those results.
Yeah. Well, Alicia, thank you so much for joining me here today. I appreciate this. I will put all of your information in the show notes where people can find you and learn more about you. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you all for joining me here today. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you enjoyed this episode and you think it would benefit someone who you know and love, kindly share it out with them, please. I would so appreciate that. Please leave me a comment and let me know what you thought. And if you're not currently following me, please subscribe so you'll know when I drop a next episode. And again, I just want to thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you. And until the next time, be well, stay happy, and bye for now.